So thank you, ladies, for getting on, and Josh, and Jax as well. So as many of you know, I have been studying nutrition and health for the last couple of years. I am now a certified health coach and integrated health practitioner. So really kind of taken like a deep dive into nutrition and health, and just I love it. It's been my passion. And one of the most surprising things that I've learned along the way is our body's incredible ability to heal itself if we simply give it the conditions to do so. And my mom is living proof of that, because she has given her body exactly what it needed and has been able to reverse her diabetes. She's lost over 60 pounds and many other health benefits along the way. So I'm going to ask her some questions. She's going to tell us all about how she did it, how it started, kind of what she's been doing to maintain this. And then if you have any questions along the way, you guys can, chime in, or you can, put something into the chat, or we can wait till I kind of go through a few questions and we'll answer them at the end. Okay. And then I also just want to say, as a little disclaimer here, is that we are not medical professionals. So the goal here is not to give you guys medical advice at all, because we are not treating or diagnosing any disease here. But we're just offering some alternatives and some things that helped my mom and that worked. And I hope that, this will get you all curious about your own health and want to do your own research and find out what works for you. All right, so Mom, take us back to a few years ago. What was the turning point for you that made you decide to try something new?
Well, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes probably in like 2006 or 5, somewhere in that area. And I was taking the metformin, the medication for that. And it was just kind of keeping it in check, but not good. So I was seeing a doctor here in this area. Well, she dissolved her practice, so I had to go to a different doctor. And so when I switched doctors and went to a different doctor, of course, he had a different program, a different outlook on how things needed to be done. And I wasn't happy with taking the medication, the metformin anyway. I wanted to try to get off of it in some way, because they don't recommend getting off your medication. Doctors don't, because they want you to stay on that, and then they tell you the diet that you should do and things to help you along the way to keep your sugar low, but they never want to take you off the medication. So he wasn't really keen on me just stopping it, but we talked about it a little bit. But then he decided that since I was a type 2 diabetic, he wanted to put me on a cholesterol medicine, because that's another symptom and another thing that diabetes causes, is your cholesterol and heart problems. And they really want to keep that under control. So he did give me a prescription. So when it was delivered in the mail, I got it in the mail. I read all the side effects, and I said, there's got to be a better way. This is not good. The side effects were 3 times worse than what I was going through with the diabetes.
Right. Like, what were some of those things? Like,
some of the side effects was it could cause kidney failure. It could cause blindness. It could cause nerve damage. It could cause high blood pressure. Different things that it could do. Not that it was going to. I don't know. But why did I want to take that chance? I didn't have any of these problems. I was fine, other than I just had diabetes. And I was starting to have some problems with my knee. I had some arthritis in my knee and my toes and my feet. And I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis in my feet. And now this was all prior to seeing this doctor that I'm seeing now. And I just took my medication and I just threw it away. I never opened it. I never took not one pill. I did not do any of that. I just threw it away. I said, I got to find a better way. I went on YouTube. I did some research. I listened to several doctors, and everyone it came back to the apple cider vinegar, the cinnamon would help. So I started doing that on my own, taking that. And
So wait, so for those who don't know what that is, so what's the apple cider vinegar and
apple cider vinegar and cinnamon and honey. It's a little shot that I take every morning. I was taking this, been taking this forever. Since then, I have added other things to that, but the main thing was the cinnamon and the apple cider vinegar is your main thing. And I would take that every morning before I would eat my breakfast or have my bowl of oatmeal or whatever, because oatmeal is really good also to help lower your cholesterol, help with your diabetes and heart problems and everything. So oatmeal was on my diet for a long, long time. Every morning was my big bowl of oatmeal. And so as my sugar started coming down, my A1C started coming into check. My doctor started seeing my numbers and saying, okay, you are doing okay. And I told him I was not taking the medication and that I had also cut way back on my metformin and wasn't taking near as much. I did take it up until the time my diabetes got into check, got to 6.1. After it got below 6.1 with pre-diabetic status, I stopped taking that as well.
wow.
And it just continued to drop. Right now it's about 5.1 is my A1C.
So how long did it take you? How long did it take for you to start seeing the benefits? Like from that, I think you said you had another checkup like 3 months.
3 months. Well, yeah, in 3 months is when they at that time I was getting blood tested every 3 months. Mm-hmm. So I was seeing just with my own testing, in the morning, testing my sugar, I could see my levels dropping, and but he noticed it right away the first 3 months after I started seeing him. He started noticing that it was going down and getting within, just kept dropping. It didn't drop fast. My sugar never drops fast. Even today, early in the morning when I get up, my glucose will run around 120 a lot of the time, 118, 119. I don't have the really low sugar, but I don't have a high sugar. I never get anything over 140. That's after a meal. Mm-hmm. So that's fairly good, yeah. I guess. Pretty good.
And now your doctor at the time, did he believe that what you were going to do was going to change anything? Did he?
No, he didn't have a whole lot of faith that it was. He knew that just being the diet, just watching my diet would help. He did say that. But as far as the cinnamon and the apple cider vinegar and all of the other stuff, he didn't have a whole lot of hope that it was going to lower my sugar. Mm-hmm. But it did.
Mm-hmm. So he was even surprised.
Yes, he was. And very happy that he doesn't have to prescribe medicine to me anymore. Everything's good. But I have not been on since for 4 years. I've not taken a pill for diabetes or anything. But I did start seeing a big improvement in my joint pain, and of course with the castor oil too. I use the castor oil rub on my knees and my feet for the arthritis, and it helps tremendous. So between all of that, and I've never taken any medication for that, so other than just the normal herbs and spices and so forth that get. Of crack from the crackery doctors, I guess is what you want to call them. But,
Now, how long did it take you to start seeing like those physical changes, like the weight loss and the improvement?
weight just fell off. I did not go into this to lose weight. I wasn't even thinking about losing weight. I was thinking about my diabetes. And then all of a sudden, after just cutting, I cut out every sugar that I could find. I don't have a piece of candy. I haven't had a cinnamon roll. I don't eat white bread. I cut it all out for about 6 months. I didn't eat not one blessed sugar that I could find other than honey. The honey was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was all that I ever used. In my oatmeal, no sugar in my oatmeal, just blueberries and nuts in my cinnamon. I would put a little bit of cinnamon in my oatmeal, and that's what I would do. And it worked. I started seeing results right away. My weight started just dropping, just fast.
Now, were you doing any like intense exercising at this point? Had you increased your exercise at all?
No, nothing other than the walking, and I have always walked a lot, and I was walking then. A group of our ladies get to the church in our church, and we would walk in the mornings. We walk it in the park, and we did that. We did a lot of walking, but no, I don't have time to do it. Exercise. I barely get done what I need to get done in the days it is.
Right. Well, it just goes to show how powerful a diet can be, right? You didn't have to do a ton of exercise and you were still able to get such great results.
It was pretty painless, really.
Yeah. So what are some of the other things that you kind of cut out? What's kind of your typical meal now? Like what's your diet look like? What are you eating?
Yeah, I went strictly to a plant-based diet, but I didn't do that right away. I didn't actually do a plant-based diet until you came home at Thanksgiving after all this started happening, and you brought me this book, How Not to Die. I read this book cover to cover to cover, and I still refer to it all the time. It's got a lot of good information in it. He is real radical about some things, so it's it's not for everyone, but he's just given us data. He's given us studies to help us make up our own mind of what we need to do. And I've read that book, and then that's when I decided to go with the plant-based diet and get rid of all meat in my diet. I had my father and two brothers die of colon cancer, and some of their biggest in their diets was meat and processed meats at that, bacon, ham, so the lunch meats and so forth, which I feel like contributed to their cancer and their ultimately their death. Yeah,
yeah. So what do you eat now? Like what's a typical
what do I eat
lunch and
now?
dinner?
I eat a lot of kale. I eat salads. I do eat eggs. I cut out all dairy as far as meat or milk, no milk. I eat all nut milks or plant-based oat milk. But I do have eggs. I'll eat a hard-boiled egg. That's my snack for lunch or whatever. I'll eat because they're really, really, really good for you. Really good protein. I take my vitamin B vitamins, and I do the nutritional yeast because I don't have the meat, so I'm needing the protein and the vitamins from that to make up the difference in that. I make a lot of veggie patties. I make my own little veggie patties, and I'll have them either as a sandwich, just plateless and so forth. I eat all vegetables such as zucchini noodles and carrot noodles, or I've even recently found in our grocery store they have red lentil noodles. I buy them and cook them and make my own little sauce and put over them, which is just usually consists of some olive oil and some spices and just toss it with my noodles a little bit, and sometimes I'll add in an egg or some walnuts or whatever I happen to have sitting around for that. But mainly I eat vegetables. I eat a lot of kale, a lot of broccoli, tons and tons of carrots,
Mhm.
cucumbers.
Well, that all sounds good to me, but I know not everyone is so easy to convince. So, how is
Yeah.
it with the girls? Those who don't know, my mom has three granddaughters that live with her. The oldest one is 16, or about to turn 16, and the youngest now is what, 14 or 15?
13, 13.
13.
Mhm.
13.
Mhm.
And then Curtis as well is a big meat eater, right? So how does that work in the house?
Well, I just cook separate meals. I cook for them and then I cook for me. But the vegetables and so forth that I fix for them, of course, then I can eat with my salad if I make a salad to eat with them, or my veggie patty or whatever. I make them broccoli. Fortunately, knock on wood, the girls love vegetables also. They eat broccoli, asparagus. They love asparagus, which asparagus is very, very, very good for you if you want to detox your kidneys and your bladder. It's very good for you. So a lot of these foods are good detox. Sauerkraut for your stomach and for your good uh, bacteria
Mhm.
and digestion. So a little bit of sauerkraut. You're supposed to do it 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes I'll eat it 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes I'll eat it just maybe once a week. But I do try to get sauerkraut into my diet quite often because it's a real good probiotic or whatever you want to cook.
Yep.
But it's really good for you. And they, unfortunately, they eat sauerkraut, and they like the vegetable parts of it, but they do have a little bit of hamburger every now and then, or they'll have chicken. I just cook the chicken and so forth, and then all the veggies go with it. And it works out pretty good. We've not had too many problems with it. Pizza is one of the biggest problems, I guess, because I love pizza. So I've had to learn how to make my own veggie pizzas and my cauliflower crust and so forth. So it's been
Hmm.
a challenge, but I've got it down pretty good now.
Yes, you just bought something to help you with that, right? You got your grinder now.
I got my grinder. I've got my whole wheat, my grind mill, and so I grind my own wheat and make. So my bread that I make is 100% whole wheat. There is no uh, white flour in it, whatever. And it's coming pretty good. I've had to work with it, but I can get it to where it's light enough where we can make a sandwich out of it. So it's getting better.
Yeah, it's great. So, Mom, one last question, then we'll open up to anybody else who has some questions. But what kind of just keeps you motivated? What's kept you going through this whole time, and how have you?
It's really, once I got into it and got started with it just become a habit, and
Mm.
it's really been easy. I have no desire. I mean, the kids eat ice cream. I buy ice cream for them, and I used to just love ice cream. And we go to Dairy Queen, and we'd have a ice cream, and I don't miss it. I don't even miss it. And at Thanksgiving, pie, I love pumpkin pie, and I will have a little piece of that every now and then. But I can't take anything real sweet anymore. I just don't miss it at all. So it really hasn't been that day. It hasn't been that bad for me. The
Hmm.
meat every now and then, a good juicy hamburger just sounds so good, but I know that that's not good for me, so I wouldn't eat it. But the oils and the grease and it's just not necessary in your diet. You don't need it. You can do other things. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's other ways to get the protein, which
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned some of those. Hemp seeds, I think you use as well quite a bit, and
I
that's
use a lot of hemp seed,
protein.
the flax seed, the chia seed. I do a lot of those, and um, and then my daily little powders that you keep sending to me are really good. Daily nutrition powders. I put them in my smoothies every morning, and my kale and my carrot and my cucumber goes in right in my smoothie every morning. That's what I have. blueberries, lots of blueberries. My freezer's full of blueberries, but I eat them every day.
It's great. Love them too. We put them in our smoothie every day too.
Mhm. Yeah.
So thank you, Mom. That was great to hear. Any questions from anybody? You can unmute if you want to ask a question, or you can put it into the chat. One thing that I will ask too is, Sarah, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Not yet.
Right. So, sugar, you said you cut out sugar, and sugar can be tough for people, right? So what are some like alternative natural sugars that you've been using that have helped you kind of?
Basically, all I have ever used. At first, I used a little bit of because all of the little YouTube things, they would say to sweeten my muffins or something that I would cook for myself, to use a little maple syrup, and pure maple syrup. And so I did that at first, but then I got the recipe for which I got off of your little health site, for the date syrup. And so I make a lot of that. I keep it in my refrigerator, and I use that to sweeten anything that I need to sweeten, that I feel like I need to sweeten. I also use bananas, like for making muffins, banana bread, which is just basically made with oatmeal. I don't use any flour. All my muffins and my banana breads are made with oatmeal, oat flour, or almond flour. And I sweeten it with bananas, and it's worked fine. It's sweet enough, and that's all we need.
How do you do the date syrup? How do you make that?
I make the date syrup. It's you take it usually comes out to about 1.5 to 2 cups of dates. I don't really measure them too much. I put them in a bowl, pour hot boiling water over top of them, and then I've got a little thing that I do where I freeze my lemons, because lemon juice and lemon is really, really, really good for you. So I freeze my lemons, and then I run them through my food processor and grind them up while they're still frozen. And in that I put fresh ginger, grind it up in there. Of course, if you work with fresh ginger, it's hairy, it's got little hairs in it, but I keep them in my freezer all the time. So then I'll throw one of those cubes of that frozen ginger and lemon in with my date syrup, and then that's all there is to it. And then I just put it in my little food processor and blend it up, and it makes a really nice little it's more like a spread or a jam. It's really not syrup, but it's not thin by no means. You put your boiling water in there and just mix it up. After I've soaked it in the water, I just use the same water that I soaked them in and just mix it up. And it makes and I keep it in my refrigerator. It'll stay a couple of weeks in the refrigerator. Of course, it hardly ever lasts that long. I end up using it before then, but it's always a really good handy thing.
It's very good. And Josh used to make it for us quite a bit, and we put it in our oatmeal, or I think he would bake with it as well. That's a really good one to use. All right, so any questions from anybody about anything you heard Mom say, or anything?
So this is Marie. This is Marie. I have my video off. I'm not sure why, but anyways. So Aunt Doreen, on your sauerkraut, I'm assuming that you buy that canned in a can. Is there something that
actually on the sauerkraut, I buy it in the jar. I don't usually use canned. I use the jar, a glass jar, but I can find it at our local grocery store. It's organic sauerkraut, and it's in the smaller bottles, which works out great for me because I don't have to open a great big bottle, and I can just open that one jar, and it's good for 2 meals for myself. And
yeah, because I was just wondering about the processing of that. So the jar doesn't, and the organic doesn't seem to have as much processing to it.
No, no.
Okay.
It's just got the salt, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
That you're gonna have the salt even if you make your own sauerkraut. So
Yeah, and I know that because I've come up there quite a bit. I know that you do like a lot of fresh cooking, but is there anything else that you use that's canned or processed like that in your diet?
I do use the canned beans, organic canned beans, black beans, and the chickpeas. The chickpeas is what I use for making a lot of the base for my veggie patties is chickpeas. I haven't gotten into cooking them now. I do have the Instapot, which really helps a whole lot on cooking my beans because I do a lot of beans, and you know that because you're here quite a bit and you have beans almost every time. But I do cook a lot of beans, and the Instapot works really good for the black beans and all the different ones that I cook. But I haven't gotten into doing the chickpeas yet because they are a little bit more time consuming. But I need to start doing that. But I do use the canned beans. And that's about it. Everything else I try to use fresh if I can.
Marie, something that Josh and I have been doing that's helped us a lot when we're trying to have kind of a quick meal that's healthy is that we've been using frozen vegetables quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, I don't know how much, I think you use some of those as well, but that really helps because they're already cut up. It just makes it so much easier to use those. I mean, fresh is always, I think, tastes better. But if you can't always get fresh, or you're worried about it going bad before you can use it, frozen vegetables can be really.
I had just recently purchased the nut milk machine to make my own nut milks and butters and so forth. So there's no chemicals in that. There's just nuts and water, and that's it. So they don't blend up as well, and you're going to have a few grainy things in it, but it's better for you, and I don't mind it. But also, you can make. I haven't done it yet because I just got my machine, but I'm going to do my raw vegetable broth and also freeze it. So I have got that on hand for my beans, because I put vegetable broth in my beans. That's how I cook my beans, and with vegetables. And so I've just recently got that. So maybe we'll do an update later, and I'll let you know how my raw vegetable broth turns out, because it works really great for the milk. So I hope it works for the vegetables.
Have y'all tried the zucchini noodles? Do y'all do zucchini noodles?
Bought ones, no, but fresh ones, yes. Where you matter of fact, I just bought the little slicer curler thing from Ricky from Tupperware to make my own zucchini noodles and carrot noodles. And then you just what I have done in the past is just saute them in a skillet just to kind of warm them. You really don't have to cook them a whole lot, and then just toss your other ingredients in with them. That's how it's worked for me so far. I don't know. I haven't tried a whole lot of other things yet.
Yeah, the zucchini noodles are they're pretty good. We've had those too.
Yeah, Josh made them for us one time. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, Josh is asking when your cooking channel is gonna start.
Not gonna happen. My quilting comes first. Sorry, Josh. I'm gonna have fun to quilt.
Something else you said, Mom, that you cook with is oat flour, and that's something that I didn't realize was so easy to make, until I kind of looked into it. And it is literally just taking oats and putting them into a blender, and that is it. And you just blend them up, and you can cook with those, or bake with those, replacing that flour that you typically use. I know you've experimented with a lot of different combinations of flours too. So anything to say on that, of what you liked to bake with?
I like the almond flour And I have used the garbanzo bean flour, which is chickpea. Garbanzo bean flour. I buy it at the at our little Amish grocery store out here. It's real easy to cook with, and I use it quite a bit. Since I've got my little wheat grinder, I've been using more fresh wheat berries and grinding my own wheat right now. And I even made rye. We get white rye, and I have made rye bread with it. And but mainly I use the oat. I like the oat flour. It's like you said, it's so convenient, so easy. Just blend it up, put it in your pan, mix all your bananas and your nuts and
You can make pancakes,
whatever
make waffle, so it's
you
great.
can make anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
Marie just had some that I burnt that I made little oatmeal pancakes the other day because I didn't have any fresh baked bread, so we had to make us a little fried oat pancake.
Yeah. And the bread has been awesome. I mean, she's doing an amazing job on that. It's amazing how, I mean, she's always been an amazing cook. The vegetable burgers and the bread and the beans, it's all just really good. But I'm impressed with the bread, the grinding of the wheat. It's actually been really good. Did have a question for you though. When we were up there the other day, you said that you were using not olive oil, but avocado oil. So what's the difference between avocado and olive as far as, you know, the baking and the health benefits?
Well, not a whole lot of difference in your cooking, other than if you're gonna if you want to use oils to saute your vegetables, the avocado oil will hold up to the heat a lot better. Olive oil doesn't like heat. It's usually best used cold, like in a salad dressing, sprinkled on a salad. That's where it's the most nutritious. It loses some of its nutrition and body and so forth in the heating process. Where the avocado oil will hold up to the heat really well, and you still have your fats and your good fats and and it really doesn't change the flavor of anything. It doesn't have a whole lot of flavor, neither one, or olive or avocado. But I like the avocado oil for just sprinkling in the bottom of my pan when I saute my vegetables, or if I'm browning my quinoa, as I always brown my quinoa and toast it before I cook it. And I'll sometimes use a little bit of oil, sometimes not. Sometimes I just toast it plain. But that's the only thing I can think of as far as difference. As far as nutrition wise, I assume they're both about the same.
Yeah, the olive oil, like you said, Mom, is so much better just to be kind of sprinkled on something after you've after you've cooked it. So after you roast your vegetables, then sprinkle a little bit of the olive oil in there, so you're getting the best taste too. Because you cook with it, like you said, it doesn't hold up as well. So that's what we do.
It's a very good explanation. I'm going to try some avocado oil. That's very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Questions? Anybody else? I did want to try to keep us right at about the 45-minute mark. I didn't want to take too much time, but I really appreciate everybody logging on, and I am going to record this. And so, if you have anybody that you think would find this interesting, you can share it with them.
It's got one of the mock horses on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lois.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this informal chat with my mom to hear about how she was able to reverse her diabetes. So some of you might be wondering, why did this diet work? And so I want to offer just a very short explanation about what was going on with my mom's body and how she was able to get such great results. Now, the information that I'm giving you is an abridged version of what you can learn more about in this book here. This is Dr. Neil Bernard and his book, Reversing Diabetes. So most people think about diabetes, think about sugar and carbohydrates, and really that they're the enemy, right? That we need to stay away from all carbohydrates and sugars. Now, that has some truth to it, but it's not the full story. What we're finding with new research on diabetes is that there's a little bit more to it. And to understand it, you have to kind of think about how the body works with glucose and getting it into our cells. So when we eat carbohydrates, whether it's a donut or a sweet potato, it gets broken down into glucose. Glucose is our body's preferred energy source, and it's what makes everything run, from our heart to our lungs, to our brain, our whole body. Every cell in our body needs carbohydrates or glucose to run. And so once carbohydrates are eaten and broken down into glucose, it gets into our bloodstream. At that point, our pancreas starts to produce insulin. Insulin gets into the bloodstream to go to the cells and basically operates as the key to unlock the cells and allow glucose to get into our cells, and so we have fuel. Now, what happens with diabetes is the insulin goes into the bloodstream. However, when it gets to the cell, it's not able to unlock the lock. Something is stuck. Something is in the way and causing an issue. And so the reason why my mom had such success with this diet is because it was primarily a plant-based diet. She cut out all saturated fats from animal proteins. She cut out dairy. She cut out all meat. So no, not even turkey, and she doesn't even really eat fish, I don't think, as well. So all of that animal protein was removed from her diet, and it was able to clear up kind of the gunk that had gotten into the lock. So when the insulin, once again, came into her bloodstream, it was able to unlock the cell and allow the glucose in. So that's just a very simplified summary of what was going on. I'm happy to answer any more questions if you want to discuss it more. If you want to hear more from my mom or ask her questions, I'm going to be posting this on Facebook and tagging her so you can directly ask her, ask it in the comments. And again, the book that will tell you more is this one right here. And the other book that my mom mentioned during this talk was How Not to Die by Michael Greger. And he is an excellent resource. He has lots of videos on all kinds of health-related topics, not just diabetes. And this book, even though it seems a little intimidating because it's so big, is broken up nicely into chapters based on different diseases. So there's a whole chapter on diabetes, there's a whole chapter on heart disease, breast cancer. So what's nice about this book is you don't have to look at this book and think you have to read the whole thing. You can just kind of skip to whatever topic is most interesting to you and just read about that. He also has a lot of information on the internet as well. You can just Google his name. He has a website, nutritionalorg, nutritionfacts.org, where he posts all his material. So thank you again for watching, and I hope you learned something. And again, this is just meant to hopefully get you curious about your own health and start thinking about some alternative options, find some alternative ways to improve your health. Thank you.